The cargo ship drifted quietly through space. It was an old ship called the Soul Star, carrying food and supplies to a mining colony 3 weeks away from Earth. Captain Hyunwoo sat in the command chair, watching the stars pass by on the viewing screen. He was tired but content. This was a simple job, and after 2 years of military service, simple was good. Behind him, he heard laughter. His daughter Jia was playing with 2 other children in the corner of the bridge. She was 8 years old with bright eyes and a smile that reminded him of her mother. The other kids were Tae-Yang, a 9-year-old boy whose father worked in engineering, and Young-Mi, a 7-year-old girl whose mother was the ship's doctor. The children were drawing pictures of planets and aliens. They had never seen real aliens before. Nobody on Earth had. Humans knew there were other species out in the galaxy, but contact was rare. Most aliens seemed to avoid Earth for reasons nobody understood. The alarm changed everything. Red lights flashed across the bridge. The computer screamed warnings. Hyunwoo jumped from his chair as 3 unknown ships appeared on the scanner. They were big, much bigger than the Soul Star, and they were moving fast. He grabbed the communication device. His voice was calm but firm. "All crew to battle stations. Get the children to the safe room now." But there was no time. A blue wave of energy hit the Soul Star and every system died. The lights went out. The engines stopped. Even the backup power was gone. The ship was dead in space, helpless. Through the window, Hyunwoo saw the alien ships getting closer. They looked like huge insects made of metal, with strange lights pulsing along their bodies. He had never seen anything like them before. The aliens boarded quickly. Hyunwoo heard the sound of cutting metal, then heavy footsteps in the corridors. He pulled Jia close to him, holding her tight. The other children pressed against their parents. Everyone was scared but trying to stay quiet. The door exploded inward. Creatures walked through the smoke. They were tall, with scales like reptiles and eyes that glowed yellow in the darkness. They wore armor and carried weapons that hummed with power. One of them, bigger than the others, stepped forward. His armor had special markings that showed he was the leader. Commander Vrex looked at the humans like someone looking at insects. His translator device made his words sound cold and mechanical. "Primitive species, suitable for processing. Collect specimens, especially the small ones. They train easier." Hyunwoo moved in front of the children. His military training took over. "You can take anything on this ship, but you will not touch these kids." Vrex made a sound that might have been laughter. "You have no power here, human. You have no weapons. You have nothing. Be grateful we only take the young ones. They have value. The rest of you are worthless." The crew fought. They used tools, chairs, anything they could grab. But the aliens had weapons that shot blue lightning. And every human who fought fell to the ground, their bodies locked in pain. Hyunwoo fought the hardest, throwing himself at the aliens again and again. But they were too strong, too fast, too prepared. He watched helplessly as alien soldiers grabbed Jia. She screamed for him, reaching out her small hand. "Daddy?" The sound of her voice broke something inside him. Tae-Yang tried to run but was caught easily. Young-Mi was crying, calling for her mother. Hyunwoo ran toward them, but a blast of energy hit him in the chest. He fell hard, his body refusing to move. Through blurry vision, he saw the aliens carrying the 3 children away. Jia was still reaching for him, her small toy falling from her hand and landing on the floor. Vrex looked down at the fallen captain. "Your offspring will serve well. Perhaps in time you will thank us for giving them purpose." He turned and walked away, following his soldiers who carried the crying children. Hyunwoo tried to move, tried to stand, tried to do anything, but his body would not obey. All he could do was watch as the aliens took his daughter, took all 3 children, and disappeared into their ship. The cutting pain in his chest was nothing compared to the pain in his heart. The alien ships pulled away from the Soul Star. They jumped into faster-than-light travel and were gone in seconds, leaving the dead cargo ship floating alone in the darkness. It took an hour for the emergency power to come back on. Hyunwoo pulled himself up, his whole body shaking. Around him, the crew was slowly recovering. But 3 children were gone. 3 innocent kids who had been drawing pictures just minutes before. He picked up Jia's toy from the floor. It was a small stuffed bear, worn from years of her carrying it everywhere. He held it tight against his chest. The other parents came to him. Dong-Hyun, Young-Mi's father, had tears running down his face. "What do we do? They took our children. They just took them." Hyunwoo looked at the stars where the alien ships had disappeared. His voice was quiet but filled with something cold and determined. We get them back. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what we have to do. We get them back or we die trying. The crew began repairs on the Soul Star. They worked through the night, pushing the old ship to get back to human space as fast as possible. None of them slept. None of them could. As the ship limped toward the nearest human station, Hyunwoo sat alone in his quarters holding his daughter's toy. He made a promise to the empty room, a promise that would soon echo across the entire galaxy. They took the wrong man's child. They attacked the wrong species, and they are going to learn exactly what humans do when someone hurts our children. The aliens thought they had captured 3 helpless victims. They had no idea they had just started a war. Ambassador Kelthrix was having a normal day when the report arrived. He was old by his species standards, with 3 hearts that had seen 47 years of diplomatic service. He had helped write the rules for first contact with new species. He had negotiated peace between worlds that had fought for centuries. He was good at his job. The report was marked as routine, just another resource collection operation by the Vraxian Empire. They did this all the time, taking workers from primitive worlds to sell in their labor markets. It was not nice, but it was legal under certain conditions. Kelthrix sighed and opened the file. Then he saw the species name, human. His 3 hearts seemed to stop beating. He scrolled down quickly, his hands shaking. 3 specimens collected, all juveniles, ages 7 to 9 standard years. His worst fear was confirmed. The Vraxians had taken human children. Kelthrix jumped from his chair and ran to his private files. He pulled up the classified database on Earth, a file he had helped create 20 years ago. The warnings were there in bright red letters. Extreme caution, do not engage, observe only from safe distance. He had been part of the first team to study Earth from orbit. They had stayed for 6 months watching and recording. What they learned had scared him then, and it scared him even more now. Earth was a death world. The planet was covered mostly in water that would poison most species. The air had too much oxygen. The gravity was crushing. The bacteria and viruses were deadly, and yet humans had not just survived there, they had become the top species. But that was not the scary part. The scary part was how humans protected their young. Kelthrix pulled up the video files. He had watched them many times, but they still made his skin crawl. One video showed a human female, barely 55 kilograms in weight. Her offspring was trapped under a ground vehicle that weighed over 1,400 kilograms. The mother had lifted that vehicle. She had broken bones in her body doing it, but she had not stopped until her child was safe. Another video showed a human male running into a burning building to save his child. The heat would have killed most species instantly. He came out with burns covering his body, but he was carrying his child and the child was alive. There were dozens of similar videos. Humans doing impossible things when their children were in danger. The research team had written 1 sentence in their report about human parents, and Kelthrix remembered it perfectly. They will pursue threats to their offspring across any distance. They will not negotiate. They will not stop. They will not forgive. Kelthrix grabbed his communication device and called Commander Vrex. The Vraxian commander appeared on the screen, looking bored and annoyed. What do you want, Ambassador? I am busy processing new acquisitions. Kelthrix tried to keep his voice calm. Commander, I need you to return the human specimens immediately. This is not a request. This is an urgent warning, Vrex laughed. The humans. They are primitives without faster-than-light travel. They have no weapons that can reach me here. Why should I fear them? Because you took their children. Kelthrix was almost shouting now. You do not understand what you have done. Humans are not like other species. When you threaten their young, they become something else, something dangerous. The Vraxian commander waved his hand dismissively. I have the most advanced battle cruiser in this sector. I have automated defenses that have destroyed entire fleets. What can a few angry primitives do to me? Stop wasting my time, Ambassador. The transmission ended. Kelthrix sat back in his chair, feeling sick. He knew what was coming. He had studied humans. He had read their history. They were a species that had climbed to the top of a death world food chain by being the best hunters. They did not give up. They did not quit. They just kept coming. He pulled up more files on human history. Humans had hunted animals by following them for days. running after them until the animals died of exhaustion. They had crossed frozen lands and deadly oceans on wooden boats to find new places to live. They had gone to their own moon using controlled explosions, risking death because they wanted to explore. And that was when they were not angry. That was when their children were safe. Kelthrix checked the news from human space. The story was already spreading. Within hours, every human government knew about the abduction. Within a day, human military forces were mobilizing. Within 3 days, humans from Earth, Mars, and all their colonies had issued a joint statement. The statement was simple: return the children unharmed within 1 standard week, or learn why Earth is classified as a death world. Kelthrix called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. He stood before 200 species representatives and tried to explain. You must understand, humans do not think like we do. They evolved as pack hunters. When you threaten their pack, especially their young, you face the entire species. Many of the council members looked confused. They came from safe worlds where predators were rare. They did not understand what it meant to be prey. But a few species, those who had evolved running from predators, understood perfectly. Their representatives were already quietly moving away from any association with the Vraxian Empire. One council member, a being from a prey species, spoke up. I have studied human entertainment media. They have stories about what they call monsters, creatures that hunt humans, especially human children. In every story, the humans hunt the monster back. They never stop hunting until the monster is dead. Commander Vrex has made humans see him as the monster. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to help the humans. Some wanted to stay neutral. Some thought Kelthrix was overreacting. In the end, they decided to wait and observe. It was the safe, diplomatic thing to do. Kelthrix knew it was a mistake. He had seen what humans were capable of when they were calm. He could not imagine what they would do when they were angry. Back in human space, Captain Hyunwoo had reached Mars Station. The news had spread everywhere. He was not alone anymore. Volunteers were coming from every human world. Military ships were being prepared. Civilian ships were being armed. Even old retired soldiers were signing up to help. Something was happening that had never happened before in human history. Every nation, every corporation, every military force was working together. They had one goal: bring the children home. Kelthrix watched the human fleet gathering through long-range sensors. It was not the biggest fleet he had ever seen. But there was something terrifying about it. Every ship, from military cruisers to mining vessels with welded-on weapons, was crewed by people who would not turn back. Could not turn back. He sent one more message to Commander Vrex. Please, Commander, I am begging you. Return the children now. You still have time to fix this mistake. Vrex sent back a recording. It showed the 3 human children in a cell crying. His message was mocking. Your children are already being processed. They will make excellent servants. Tell the humans to go home before I decide to collect more specimens. Kelthrix closed his eyes. The fool had just made everything worse. That recording would spread through human communication networks. Those crying children would be seen by billions of humans, and every single one of them would want to help. The human fleet began moving. They were not going fast to conserve fuel. They were not being careful to avoid detection. They were charging forward at maximum speed, and they were broadcasting their position openly. They wanted Vrex to know they were coming. The human fleet was like nothing the galaxy had seen before. 317 ships of all sizes moved together through space. There were military battleships with proper weapons and shields. There were cargo ships with mining lasers pointed forward instead of down. There were even personal yachts with homemade missiles attached to their hulls. What made them scary was not their weapons or numbers. It was the people inside them. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of a military cruiser called the Father's Fury. Admiral Subin had given him the ship personally. She was a tough woman who commanded the Korean Space Defense Force. She had 3 children of her own back on Earth. When she heard about Jia, Tae-yang, and Young Mi, she had redirected 3 entire battle groups to help. We will get them back, she had told Hyunwoo. Every parent in the fleet understands. We all know what we are fighting for. Next to Hyunwoo stood Dong-hyun, Young Mi's father. He was an engineer, not a soldier. But his hands were steady as he worked on a tracking device. Young Mi had a medical implant like all children in human space. It was supposed to monitor her health. Dong-hyun had found a way to track it across vast distances. I have her signal, Dong-hyun said quietly. It is weak, but it is there. She is alive. Hyunwoo put his hand on the engineer's shoulder. They are all alive, and we are bringing them home. The fleet followed the trail of the Vraxian ships through several star systems. At each stop, they found stations where the Vraxians had refueled or traded. The alien station masters were terrified when the human ships arrived. Colonel Min Seo led the boarding parties. She was a special operations commander who volunteered her entire unit. When she walked into the stations with her soldiers, she did not threaten anyone. She simply asked questions politely, but the aliens could see something in the humans' eyes. Something cold and determined. Something that said they would do whatever was necessary. Every station master told them everything they knew without any trouble. One station master, a small, timid creature covered in fur, spoke to Ambassador Kelthrix afterward. The humans did not hurt us. They were very polite. But I could see it in their faces. If we had refused to help, they would have taken the information anyway. There was nothing that would stop them. Nothing at all. Meanwhile, aboard the Vraxian slave ship, the 3 children were learning to survive. Gia had stopped crying after the first day. She remembered what her father taught her during their survival training trips. Stay calm, observe everything. Wait for your chance. She kept the other captured children calm too, telling them stories and sharing what little food they got. Taeyang watched the guards carefully. He counted how many there were. He noted when they changed shifts. He memorized their patrol patterns. The Vraxians thought he was just a scared child staring at them. They did not realize he was gathering intelligence. Young Mi was the smallest, but she was also the smartest with technology. Her mother was a doctor, but her father had taught her about engineering. She studied the electronic lock on their cell door. She had no tools, but she was patient. Every day she learned a little more about how it worked. The Vraxians were confused by the human children. Other juvenile aliens they had captured would break quickly when shocked or starved. The human children got quieter and more focused. It was not normal behavior, and it made the guards nervous. One guard complained to Commander Vrex. The human juveniles are resistant to conditioning. Perhaps we should increase the shock levels. Vrex waved away the concern. They will break eventually. All primitives do. Continue the standard procedures. He still did not understand his mistake. He still thought he was safe. The human fleet grew larger each day. More ships kept joining from human colonies. Retired military officers came out of retirement. Corporations donated ships and weapons. Scientists developed new tracking technologies. Everyone wanted to help. Dr. Haywan was a xenobiologist who specialized in alien species. She joined the fleet to provide information about Vraxian physiology. She studied their biology and found their weaknesses. She briefed the combat teams on where to shoot, what gases would affect them, what temperatures they could not tolerate. This is not just about revenge, she told the soldiers. This is about making sure it never happens again. We need to show the galaxy what happens when someone takes our children. The Galactic Council watched with growing concern. Ambassador Kelthrix tried to explain what was happening. Humans do not fight like we do. They do not calculate odds. They do not consider cost. They just keep moving forward. Some council members wanted to intervene. Some wanted to sanction humanity for mobilizing such a large fleet. But species that had evolved as prey animals understood perfectly. They quietly began distancing themselves from the Vraxian Empire. They did not want to be anywhere near the target when the humans arrived. Commander Vrex finally realized the humans were serious when his long-range sensors picked up the approaching fleet. But he was still confident. He sat in his command chair on his battlecruiser, surrounded by automated defense platforms that had destroyed larger fleets. He sent a message to the human fleet. This is your final warning. Turn back now or my defenses will destroy you. Your children are being processed. They will serve the Vraxian Empire. There is nothing you can do. To make his point stronger, he attached a recording. It showed the 3 children in their cell. They looked thin and scared. The sound of other children crying could be heard in the background. Brex thought this would break human morale. He thought parents would see their children suffering and give up. He was wrong again. The recording spread through every human communication channel. Billions of people saw it. And instead of breaking their spirit, it hardened their resolve. Messages flooded in from Earth. Whatever it takes. Bring them home. Make them pay. Admiral Subin sent back a simple response. You had your chance. We offered you peace. You chose war. The human fleet did not slow down. Instead, they accelerated. Ships pushed their engines past safe limits. Crews worked double shifts to maintain speed. They were not pursuing anymore. They were charging. On the bridge of the Father's Fury, Captain Hyunwoo looked at the image of the Vraxian defenses ahead. They were massive. The odds were terrible. Many ships in the fleet would be destroyed. Many people would die. He looked around at his crew. Every single person had volunteered. Every single person knew the risks. And every single person was ready. Dong-hyun spoke up from his station. Signal is getting stronger. The children are definitely in that slave ship at the center of their formation. Then that is where we go, Hyunwoo said simply. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vraxian defensive perimeter. They arrived exactly on the deadline they had given. Not 1 second late. Admiral Subin broadcast one final message. Return the children to the marked coordinates within 1 hour. This is your last chance. Commander Vrex laughed and activated his defense grid. Automated weapons came online. Missile platforms locked onto targets. His battlecruiser powered up its main weapons. The first shots came from the Vraxian defenses. Explosions lit up space as human ships were hit. But the fleet did not stop. They did not retreat. They kept coming forward. Vrex watched in disbelief as human ships deliberately moved into firing lines, sacrificing themselves to create debris fields that blocked his sensors. Smaller ships used the debris as cover, slipping through gaps in his defenses. For the first time, Commander Vrex felt something he had never felt before. Fear. These humans were not fighting a space battle. They were not trying to win by traditional tactics. They were willing to die if it meant getting their children back. And nothing in his experience had prepared him for an enemy that refused to value their own lives over their mission. The battle had begun. And the humans were not stopping. Space was burning. The Vraxian automated defenses fired continuously, destroying human ships with cold efficiency. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. Debris scattered in all directions. The computers calculated that the human fleet would be destroyed within 20 minutes. But the computers did not understand humans. The outer ring of human ships took the heaviest fire. Cargo vessels that had been converted into makeshift warships exploded one after another. But before they died, they created something valuable: debris. Massive clouds of metal and wreckage that confused the automated targeting systems. Behind this wall of sacrifice, the faster ships pushed through. Personal yachts that could dodge quickly. Military fighters that were built for speed, mining ships with powerful engines. They slipped through gaps in the defense grid like water flowing around rocks. Commander Vrex watched from his battle cruiser, his confidence finally cracking. They are insane. They are destroying themselves. To get through, no species fights like this. His second officer looked at the tactical display with wide eyes. Commander, we have lost 60% of the defense grid. The humans are not slowing down. They are adapting to our weapons. They are learning our patterns. Inside the slave ship at the center of the Vraxian formation, the guards were panicking. Alarms blared everywhere. The sounds of explosions could be heard through the hull. The Vraxians ran back and forth, shouting orders and preparing weapons. Young Mi saw her chance. The guards were distracted. She had been working on the cell lock for days, understanding its pattern. Her small fingers moved quickly across the control panel. She pressed 3 buttons in a specific order. The lock clicked open. Jia looked at the younger girl with surprise. How did you do that? Young Mai smiled for the first time in days. My dad taught me about electronic systems. He said everything has a pattern. You just have to find it. Taeyang peeked out of the cell door. The corridor was empty. All the guards had gone to defensive positions. Come on. We need to move now. The 3 human children crept out of their cell. Behind them, other juvenile aliens looked scared and confused. Jia turned back to them. Come with us. We are getting out of here. They moved through the corridors carefully. Taeyang led the way, remembering the patrol patterns he had memorized. When they heard footsteps, they hid in side rooms. When they reached locked doors, young Mi worked her magic on the control panels. They reached a junction and found a maintenance duct. Young Mi pointed at it. The ship's map says this leads to the emergency pod bay, but it is small. Only children can fit through. Perfect, Jia said. Taeyang, you bring up the rear. Make sure everyone follows. Young Mi, you lead. I will stay in the middle and help the smaller ones. They crawled through the ducts while the battle raged outside. The ship shook from impacts. Lights flickered on and off, but the children kept moving. Outside, Captain Hyunwoo piloted the Father's Fury through the Vraxian defenses. His ship had taken damage. Shields were failing. Hull breaches were sealed with emergency foam. But Dong-hyun's tracking device showed they were close to the slave ship. The engineer's hands flew across his console. I have a precise lock on young Mi's implant. She is moving. Captain, the children are moving toward the emergency pod bay. Hyunwoo felt his heart leap. They are escaping on their own. Get us to that slave ship. Now. The Father's Fury accelerated. Other human ships formed up around them, providing covering fire. They smashed through the remaining defenses like a battering ram. Nothing was going to stop them now. The ship attached to the slave ship's hull with magnetic clamps. Hyunwoo activated the mining laser that had been mounted on the front. It was never designed for combat, but it cut through alien metal like butter. Within seconds, they had breached the hull. Colonel Minseo and her special operations team poured through the breach. They moved with deadly precision, using the tactical information Dr. Haewon had provided. They knew where to shoot. They knew how to move. They had trained for this moment. The Vraxian guards had spent years terrorizing helpless prisoners. They were not prepared to face trained human soldiers who were fighting to save children. The battle inside the ship was short and brutal. Hyunwoo followed his team through the corridors. He had a tracker device showing Jia's position. His daughter was close, so close. He reached the emergency pod bay just as the children emerged from the maintenance duct. Jia climbed out first, helping the younger alien children behind her. Then she looked up and saw her father standing in the doorway. Daddy! She ran to him and he caught her in his arms, holding her so tight he was afraid he might hurt her. But he could not let go. Could not believe she was real and alive and safe. Dong-hyun was right behind him. He fell to his knees when he saw young Mi, tears streaming down his face. My baby. My precious baby. Taeyang's father arrived seconds later, grabbing his son and checking him for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they hurt you? We are okay, Dad, Taeyang said. We knew you would come. We just had to stay alive until you got here. There was no time for long reunions. Hyunwoo quickly loaded all the children into escape pods. Human rescue ships were already moving into position to collect them. He launched the pods and watched them race away toward safety. Only when the pods were secure did he allow himself to breathe. Only when he knew Jia was truly safe did the tension leave his body. Colonel Minseo's voice came through his communicator. Captain, we have secured the slave ship. All juvenile prisoners are accounted for. We also found the computer records, lists of other species they have taken, evidence of everything they have done. Save everything, Hyunwoo ordered. The galaxy needs to see what these creatures did. Outside, the battle was ending. The Vraxian defenses were destroyed. Commander Vrex tried to flee in his battlecruiser, but human ships surrounded him completely. There was nowhere to run. He broadcast a surrender message. I surrender. I will return the children. I will pay compensation. Just let me go. Admiral Subin's response was ice cold. We already have our children. Now you face the consequences of your actions. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with destruction. The Vraxian battlecruiser, supposedly invincible, was boarded and captured within minutes. Commander Vrex was taken into custody. He looked at the human soldiers with new understanding and complete terror. He finally realized what he had done. Ambassador Kelthrix had been watching the battle from a safe distance. He sent a message to the human fleet. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request that Commander Vrex be turned over for trial. The entire galaxy must see justice done. Admiral Subin agreed. The galaxy would indeed see justice, but it would be justice on human terms. Aboard the rescue ships, the 3 human children were being examined by doctors. They were thin and scared. They had bruises and burn marks from the electric shocks, but they were alive. They were safe. and they were going home. Gia held her father's hand through the medical examination. She looked up at him with those bright eyes. "I knew you would come, Daddy. I told the others that humans always protect their children. I told them my dad would find us." Hyunwoo smiled through his tears. "Always, sweetheart. Always." The battle was over. The children were saved. But the real consequences for the galaxy were just beginning. 3 weeks after the rescue, the largest courtroom in the galaxy was filled with representatives from 200 different species. The Galactic Council had called an emergency trial. Commander Vrek stood in a containment field at the center of the room. He looked smaller now without his armor and weapons, just a criminal waiting for judgment. Captain Hyunwoo stood nearby with Admiral Subin. Both wore their dress uniforms. They had been asked to testify about what happened. Behind them sat the families of the rescued children, including Jia, Taeyang, and Young Mi. The trial was supposed to be about Commander Vrex and his crimes. But it became something much bigger. It became about humanity and their place in the galaxy. The prosecutors presented the evidence. Video recordings from the slave ship showed children being shocked and starved. Computer files listed hundreds of juveniles from dozens of species that the Vraxians had taken over the years. The numbers were horrifying. Then the 3 human children were asked to testify. They appeared on a large screen, speaking from Earth where they were recovering. Gia spoke first. Her voice was calm and clear. "They put us in a cell with other children. They shocked us when we asked for food. They shocked us when we tried to help the younger ones. But we did not break. We knew our parents would come. We just had to survive until they arrived." Taeyang explained how he had watched the guards and learned their patterns. Young Mi described picking the electronic lock. Their testimony was matter-of-fact, almost casual. They spoke about their captivity like it was a problem they had to solve, not a nightmare they had lived through. Many species in the courtroom were disturbed by this. These were children, juveniles who should have been broken by such treatment. But they had stayed calm, made plans, and escaped on their own. What kind of species produced children like this? Ambassador Kelthrix was called to testify. He walked slowly to the witness stand, looking older than his years. He had seen too much, known too much, failed to prevent too much. "Ambassador," the prosecutor asked, "did you warn Commander Vrex about taking human children?" Kelthrix nodded. "I did. I told him it would be catastrophic. I showed him the classified files on humanity. But he did not listen. He thought humans were just another primitive species to exploit. Can you explain to the court why you were so concerned?" Kelthrix looked around the courtroom. 20 years ago, I was part of the first team to observe Earth. We classified it as a death world. The planet is covered mostly in water that would poison most species. The oxygen levels are toxic. The gravity is crushing. The diseases are deadly. And humans are the top predator on this world. He pulled up images on the courtroom screens. But what scared us most was how humans protect their young. We documented cases of human parents doing impossible things to save their children, lifting vehicles that weigh hundreds of times their body weight, running into deadly environments, going without food or water for weeks. The courtroom watched videos of human parents performing superhuman feats. The gallery was silent. Kelthrix continued. We wrote in our report that humanity bonds with their offspring in a way that overrides self-preservation. We warned that taking human children would trigger a response we could not control. I repeated this warning to Commander Vrex. He ignored it. The defense lawyer stood up. Ambassador, do you believe the human military response was appropriate? They destroyed an entire defense grid. They sacrificed dozens of ships. Many humans died in that battle. Was this not excessive? Kelthrix looked at the lawyer with something like pity. You still do not understand. Humans did not respond with military force because they calculated it was the right strategy. They responded with military force because it was the only thing they could do. When you threaten a human's child, you do not face a rational actor. You face something primal and unstoppable. The prosecutor called Dr. Haywan next. She presented medical evidence about the children's recovery. The 3 human children had been subjected to electric shocks, food deprivation, and psychological torture. These treatments would have killed most juvenile species. The humans were injured, but they survived, and they are recovering at rates that defy our medical understanding. She showed brain scans and stress hormone levels. Within 1 week of rescue, Their physical injuries were almost completely healed. The psychological trauma is present, but they are processing it in ways we have never seen. They are not just surviving, they are adapting and growing stronger. Finally, Captain Hyunwoo was called to speak. He walked to the center of the courtroom and stood before the council. His voice was quiet but carried to every corner of the massive room. My daughter is 8 years old. She likes to draw pictures of stars. She falls asleep listening to music. She cries when she has bad dreams. She is a child, fragile and innocent and trusting, and Commander Vrex decided to torture her. He looked directly at Vrex. You ask if our response was excessive. I ask you, what is the appropriate response when someone hurts your child? Should we have negotiated? Should we have offered payment? Should we have asked politely for her return while you shocked her and starved her? The courtroom was absolutely silent. We came in force because we could not risk losing them. We fought through your defenses because there was no time for diplomacy. We took casualties because every second mattered. And we would do it again. We would do it 1,000 times. Because that is what parents do. That is what humans do. He turned to address the entire council. You want to know about humans? Here is what you need to know. We are patient until you threaten our families. We are reasonable until you harm our children. We follow rules until those rules protect monsters. And when we stop being patient, when we stop being reasonable, when we stop following rules, we do not stop until the threat is eliminated. His voice grew harder. The next species that takes a human child will learn this lesson again. We hope they learn it from Commander Vrex's example rather than their own experience. The council deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, the head judge spoke. Commander Vrex, you are found guilty of crimes against sentient juveniles. This is one of the few universal laws that every species in this council agrees upon. Your actions have brought shame to your entire species. Your sentence is permanent exile and memory sharing. Your experiences will be broadcast across the galaxy as a warning. Every species will know what happens when you target children, especially human children. The judge turned to the human delegation. As for humanity and their military response, this council finds that your actions were justified under extreme circumstances. You acted to protect your young. No species in this council can condemn a parent for saving their child, but there was more. The head judge stood and addressed the entire council. Earth is hereby reclassified. It is no longer just a death world. It is now a protected world with juvenile status. Any action against human offspring is considered an act of war against the entire Galactic Council. Furthermore, we extend this protection to all juveniles of all species. The events of the past month have shown us that we failed to protect the most vulnerable among us. This ends today. The gallery erupted in discussion. Some species cheered. Some looked concerned. But everyone understood. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it. Outside the courtroom, Hyunwoo found Ambassador Kelthrix waiting for him. The old diplomat looked tired but relieved. Thank you, Captain. You showed the galaxy something important today. Not just that humans are strong, but that they are honorable. You could have destroyed the Vraxian Empire. You could have taken revenge on everyone involved. But you chose justice instead. Hyunwoo shook his head. We just wanted our children back. Everything else was just what we had to do to get them. Kelthrix smiled sadly. That is exactly why your species is special. You do not seek conquest or glory. You seek to protect. And in protecting your own, you have made the galaxy safer for everyone's children. That evening, Hyunwoo video called home. Jia appeared on the screen, smiling and healthy. She held up a new drawing. Look, Daddy. I drew the trial. The judge looks like a big octopus. Hyunwoo laughed, feeling the weight lift from his shoulders. His daughter was safe. She was smiling. She was drawing pictures again. Everything else was just details. The trial was over. The verdict was delivered. But the real changes in the galaxy were just beginning. 6 months after the trial, the galaxy looked different. Human ships traveled freely through space now, no longer avoided or ignored. When they docked at alien stations, the station masters greeted them with respect. When human merchants did business, they were treated fairly. When human tourists visited alien worlds, they were welcomed. But the biggest change was in how the galaxy saw human children. Several species sent formal apologies to Earth. They admitted they had once considered humans as potential labor sources. They promised it would never happen again. Some even offered gifts and technology as signs of goodwill. Earth accepted the apologies but declined most gifts. Humans did not want payment. They wanted understanding. Captain Hyunwoo received many offers. Promotion to Admiral, a position on the Galactic Security Council, medals and honors from a dozen different worlds. He turned them all down. Instead, he accepted one specific job: coordinator of the Guardian Fleet. The Guardian Fleet was a new organization. It combined human and alien ships for one purpose only: responding to child abduction cases anywhere in the galaxy. Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his new command ship and looked at the mixed crew around him. Humans working alongside aliens from 20 different species, all of them dedicated to the same mission. Gia came home. She was safe and healthy. The nightmares came less often now. She had started drawing again, creating pictures of stars and ships and friendly aliens. She went back to school and told her classmates about her adventure. They thought she was the bravest person they knew, but she had changed. She was quieter sometimes, more thoughtful. She started a communication group with other children who had been rescued from various situations across the galaxy. She wanted to help them, the way Tae Yang and young Mi had helped her. Young Mi was thriving. She was back in school, excelling in engineering classes. She had designed improved tracking systems that were now used throughout human space. She created better escape pod protocols. She developed communication devices for emergency situations, and she made all her designs free for anyone to use. When reporters asked why she gave away her inventions, she said something simple: "The next kid who needs rescuing should not have to wait for someone to buy the right equipment. If my designs can save even one child, that is worth more than any money." Taeyang had started training for the military academy. At just 10 years old, he was already teaching self-defense classes to other children. He had written a survival guide based on his experience. It was translated into dozens of languages and read by children across multiple species. His message was clear: you are stronger than you think. Never give up. Help is coming. Dr. Soon-hee published a study on human childhood resilience. Her research showed that human children, despite being physically vulnerable, possessed psychological recovery mechanisms that were unusual in the galaxy. She called it adaptive resilience. The theory suggested that humans evolved this trait because Earth was so dangerous that children needed to recover quickly from trauma. The Vraxian Empire collapsed. Once the truth about their slave operations became public, other species within their territory rebelled. The empire fragmented into independent systems. Many of these new governments immediately asked to join the Galactic Council. They wanted protection from any potential human retaliation, but humanity did not seek revenge. Admiral Subin gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. "We did not fight to destroy an empire. We fought to bring 3 children home. The Vraxians destroyed themselves by building their society on cruelty. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Civilizations built on harming the weak will always fall." Cultural exchange programs began. Alien diplomats visited Earth, always with extensive warnings about the environment. Ambassador Kelthrix returned for his first visit in 20 years. He was invited to have dinner at Hyunwoo's home. Gia greeted him at the door. She was no longer the scared child from the cell. She smiled confidently and showed him to the dining room. "Look at my drawings, Ambassador. I drew your species. I hope I got the colors right." Kelthrix looked at the pictures and felt something warm in his 3 hearts. This child had been tortured and traumatized. Now she was drawing pictures of aliens with curiosity and kindness. How did humans do this? How did they remain hopeful after experiencing the worst the galaxy had to offer? During dinner, Kelthrix asked Hyunwoo a question. "How do you balance your fierce protective instincts with building a peaceful society? How do you teach your children to be strong without teaching them to be violent?" Hyunwoo smiled and looked at Gia. "Because we want them to inherit a better galaxy than the one we found. We fight so they do not have to. We are strong so they can be gentle. We face the darkness so they can live in the light." A filmmaker from the Galactic Council created a documentary about the incident. It was supposed to be a warning about respecting protected species, but it became something more. The documentary showed human families, human children learning and playing, human communities working together. The final scene showed Gia, Taeyang, and young Mi playing in a park on Earth. Just normal kids being kids, laughing and running under the yellow sun. The narrator said something that resonated across the galaxy. We judged humans by their capacity for violence. We should have judged them by what they choose to protect. The documentary won awards. But more importantly, it changed minds. Species that had feared humans began to understand them. They saw that humanity was fierce only when threatened, gentle when safe, and utterly devoted to protecting those they loved. 6 months after the rescue, the Guardian fleet got its first real mission. A distress call came from a transport ship, carrying juvenile aliens from 3 different species. A criminal group had attacked them and taken the children. The response was immediate. The Guardian fleet deployed within minutes. But they were not alone. 12 other species sent ships to help. They had learned from humanity. When children are in danger, you respond with everything you have. The mission was perfect. Human tactics combined with alien technology. The children were recovered within hours. No casualties. The criminals surrendered as soon as they realized they were facing the Guardian fleet. The lesson from 6 months ago had spread far and wide. The rescued children were brought to Earth for treatment. The Trauma Recovery Center had been established using protocols developed by Dr. Hai Wan and techniques pioneered by Young Mi, Taeyang, and Jia. The alien children recovered quickly, supported by a system that understood their needs. One of the parents, a being from the Kixian species, came to Hyunwoo with tears in their eyes. "My child was lost. I thought I would never see them again. You did not just bring them back. You taught them how to be strong again, how to heal. How do I thank you for this?" Hyunwoo smiled gently. "You do not need to thank us. We are just doing what any parent would do, protecting children. All children. Every child. That is what civilized beings do." By the end of the first year, 12 species had formed defense pacts with humanity, not because they feared humans, but because they wanted allies who would respond the way humans had responded. Allies who understood that protecting children was the most important mission any civilization could have. Ambassador Kelthrix proposed a new amendment to the Galactic Charter. It passed unanimously. The protection of juveniles, regardless of species, is the highest priority of civilized society. Any action against children is considered a crime against the entire Galactic Council. Humanity had not just joined galactic civilization, they had fundamentally changed it. They showed the galaxy that strength was not just about weapons and technology. Real strength was about protecting the vulnerable. Real civilization was measured by how it treated its youngest members. And it all began because Commander Vrex made a catastrophic mistake. He thought 3 human children could be taken without consequence. He learned too late that when you threaten a human child, you face the entire human species. And now, thanks to the changes humans had inspired, threatening any child meant facing an entire galaxy united in protection. The galaxy had learned. The lesson was written in the stars, written in treaties and laws, written in the memory of 3 children who survived and thrived. Never again would children be seen as easy targets. Never again would predators find them unprotected, because humanity had shown the way, and the galaxy had followed. 5 years had passed since the Soul Star incident. The galaxy had changed in ways that nobody could have predicted. The Guardian Academy stood on Mars Station, a massive facility where humans and aliens trained together. Director Hyunwoo walked through the training halls, watching cadets from 37 different species practicing rescue operations. The academy taught more than combat tactics. It taught trauma response, child psychology, medical treatment, and most importantly, how to never give up. Every cadet learned about the 3 children who had survived in a Vraxian cell, about how they stayed strong, helped each other, and never lost hope. Jia was 13 now. She stood on the stage at the academy's opening ceremony for the new class. She was no longer the scared 8-year-old who had been taken from her father's ship. She was confident, articulate, and had become a voice for rescued children across the galaxy. "I was 8 when I was taken," she told the assembled cadets. "I was scared, but I remembered what my father taught me. Stay calm, observe, wait for your chance, and most importantly, remember that someone is coming for you. Someone always comes." She paused and looked at the diverse crowd of aliens and humans. "Now we are the ones who come. We are the ones who rescue. We are the ones who bring children home. This is the most important work in the galaxy. Do not take it lightly." The cadets applauded. Some were moved to tears. An alien cadet from a prey species approached Jia afterward. "I was rescued by the Guardian fleet 2 years ago. Your survival guide helped me stay alive until they found me. Thank you." Gia smiled and hugged the cadet. We help each other. That is what we do. Tae Yang was 14 now and enrolled in the Korean Space Defense Academy. He wanted to join the Guardian fleet when he graduated. His survival guide had been updated every year and was now required reading in schools across human space. But he was most proud of the self-defense classes he taught. Every weekend, he taught children from different species how to protect themselves. He adapted his techniques for different body types, different strengths, different abilities. His classes were always full. You are stronger than you think, he told his students. Your size does not matter. Your age does not matter. What matters is your mind and your will to survive. Never give up. Never stop fighting. Young Mi, now 12 years old, had surprised everyone by following in her father's footsteps. She was studying engineering with a focus on rescue technology. She had already designed improved tracking systems, better escape pods, and communication devices for emergencies. All of her patents were freely available to anyone who needed them. When business people asked why she did not charge money for her inventions, her answer was always the same. Technology should save lives, not make profit. The next child who needs help should not have to wait, because someone could not afford the right equipment. 5 years after the rescue, a test came. A distress call arrived from the Outer Rim. A large criminal organization had attacked a colony transport. They had taken 42 children from 5 different species. The situation was serious. The criminals were heavily armed and had threatened to harm the children if anyone approached. The Guardian fleet deployed immediately. But this time they had help. 12 species sent their best rescue ships. The operation was commanded by Admiral Subin, with Director Hyun-woo coordinating the actual rescue teams. The fleet that assembled was impressive not for its size but for its unity. The rescue operation was textbook perfect. Human tactics taught to alien crews, alien technology enhanced by human innovation. Every member of every team knew exactly what to do. They moved like a single organism with one purpose. The children were recovered in 18 hours. 0 casualties on the rescue side. The criminals surrendered immediately when they realized who they were facing. The lesson from 5 years ago was known throughout the galaxy now. You do not take children. You especially do not take children when the Guardian fleet exists. The rescued children were brought to Earth for treatment at the Trauma Recovery Center. The facility used Young Mi's tracking technology, Tae Yang's resilience training programs, and Jia's peer support network. The children recovered faster than anyone expected. One of the parents, a being from the Kixian collective, met with Hyunwoo. Tears streamed down their face as they held their child close. 5 years ago, I heard about what you did for your daughter. I thought it was propaganda. I did not believe any species would go so far to save children. Now I understand. You did not just save your own. You created a system to save everyone's children. How do I thank you? Hyunwoo smiled gently. Pass it forward. Teach your child to be strong. Teach them to help others. That is thanks enough. Ambassador Kelthrix was retiring after 47 years of service. His final report to the Galactic Council was titled The Human Factor. It became required reading in diplomatic schools across the galaxy. In the report, he wrote about his journey from fear to understanding. 5 years ago, I witnessed what happens when humanity's protective instincts are triggered. I feared we had unleashed something dangerous. I was wrong to fear them, but I was right to respect them. Humanity did not seek domination after proving their strength. They sought cooperation. They did not hoard their rescue techniques. They taught them freely. They did not exploit their position. They used it to protect all children regardless of species. The report continued. Humans have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. They expanded this philosophy to galactic scale. Now it takes a galaxy to raise a child. And humanity showed us how to build that galaxy. On the 5th anniversary of the rescue, a memorial was unveiled at Concordia Station. It was a simple sculpture showing 3 human children holding hands, surrounded by children from 12 different species. The plaque read something that made visitors pause and think. In memory of the Soul Star incident. Let all who see this remember that the measure of a civilization is how it protects its children. All children. Every child. May we never forget this lesson. At the anniversary ceremony, Jia gave a speech that was broadcast to billions across the galaxy. She stood confident and strong, no longer the victim but the survivor who had inspired change. 5 years ago, I was scared and hurt and far from home. But I was never alone. I knew my dad was coming. I knew humanity was coming. And they did. Today, I want every child in the galaxy to know what I knew then. You are never alone. If someone hurts you, someone will come. If you are lost, someone will find you. If you need help, someone will help you. Not because of your species or your planet or your value to society, but because you are a child. And that is reason enough. That is what humans taught the galaxy. That is what the galaxy is now teaching back to us. We are better together. We are stronger together. And we are all responsible for every child everywhere. The crowd erupted in applause. Species from across the galaxy stood and cheered. They understood. They finally understood what humanity had been trying to teach them all along. That evening, Hyunwoo sat with Jia in the observation deck of Mars Station. They watched Earth rise over the Martian horizon, just like they had done so many times before. His daughter leaned against him, comfortable and safe. "Dad, do you think it will ever happen again?" she asked quietly. Hyunwoo thought about the question carefully. He wanted to give her an honest answer, not a comforting lie. Maybe. The galaxy is big and there will always be bad people. But if it does happen, the response will be faster. The rescue will be better. And the lesson will be remembered. You helped make sure of that. Jia nodded, satisfied with that answer. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching their home world rise over an alien landscape. Somewhere in the galaxy, other families were having similar moments. Alien children safe with their parents, protected by a system that humans had helped build. The Soul Star incident had passed into history, but its lessons remained. Not through fear or military power, but through a simple truth that every parent in the galaxy could understand. When you threaten a child, you threaten the future, and humanity, for all their death world origins and predator instincts, valued the future above everything else. They had been tested. They had proven themselves, and in doing so, they had taught the galaxy that civilization is not measured in weapons or technology. It is measured in what you are willing to fight for, and who you are willing to protect. The 3 children who were captured 5 years ago were not victims anymore. They were survivors, teachers, and living proof that even from the darkest situations, hope can grow. All you need is someone who cares enough to come when you call for help. And humanity, born on a death world and shaped by endless challenges, had made sure that across the entire galaxy, every child would always have someone coming when they called. The lesson was learned. The changes were real. The future was brighter, and it all began because 3 children were taken and an entire species refused to let them go.